يبقى كذلك، لأنه إنسان يمكن أن نقول أنه فنان بكل المقاييس، ونقول له في هذا المنبر ألف مرحبا في بلدك الثاني المغرب، وكنرحب بك في افتتاح مهرجان موازين على منصة النهضة اليوم إن شاء الله. مرحبا، أهلا وسهلا أستاذ يوسف.
بارك الله. Thank you so much.
Shall I say a few words? Yes, if you want to, of course.
I'm so honored to be here. Barakallahu fikum, Mr. Director, the موازين Festival, for inviting me. And thank you so much for people of Morocco for being so kind and sticking with me all these years. It's been 15 years. Thank you so much for your kindness and your love and support. And we're very honored to be here. Barakallahu fikum.
Bismillah.
First question.
مساء الخير. سوف أطرح السؤال. أحمد السي صحفي من الأحداث المغربية. سوف أطرح السؤال باللغة العربية إن كان ممكن. بالنسبة للأستاذ سامي يوسف، في عالم الإسلامي أو في العالم كله يعيش على إيقاع الإرهاب وعلى إيقاع الصراع بين الثقافات، هل عندما فنان عربي أو فنان مسلم ذو الأصول المسلمة يغني عن التسامح، عن اللقاء بين الثقافات وإمكانية التواصل بين الأديان وهذه الثقافات وبين الإنسان والتأكيد على الروح الإنسانية التي تجمع بين جميع البشر، هل في هذه الظروف يمكن هذا الرسالة يمكن أن تصل، أم أن المتلقي خاصة مع الظروف التي يعيشها العالم يمكن أن يعتبرها مسألة سخرية أو مسألة غير ذات جدوى في ظل هذه الظروف التي يعيشها العالم؟ وشكرا.
That's quite a philosophical question. I think one thing we need to understand is that the world that we're living in, I would say the modern world that we're living in, the Western world, is innately, in my opinion, has been, and I believe it's almost part and parcel of the civilization now, hating the sacred and anything spiritual ever since the Enlightenment, for the past 600 years. So as a Westerner, as a British person, and as a Muslim, I understand the conditions I'm living in. And that's why I'm generally not an angry person. But it is a difficult time, and yes, there's a lot of problems. And on the flip side of things, the extremists that you talk about, they are also from modernity. They don't belong to tradition. You know, the extremists that you refer to, they are also, from the 20th century. They go back to the 20th century. But in terms of, I'd like to bring it back to music, and I'm here as a musician, not as a representative of any group or any faith group. My love is music, and I'm a lover of God, I'm a lover of the sacred, but it's a personal thing, actually. It's not something I'd like to go around, every conversation I have to talk about faith. It's quite clear that my music has a spiritual dimension, God willing, inshallah. And I'm here. It's a great honor for me to have a platform like موازين and to perform music that's, I would say, fairly sophisticated music, whether you like it or not. But a lot of effort has gone in, months and months of training and notes, and a lot of it, I'm a composer first, then a singer. So a lot of effort has gone in to the arrangements and the compositions, and as you will see, it's a full live concert. There's no playback, there's no buttons, there's no, light show. It's music. And the most important thing about this music is that it's promoting or addressing turath, and tradition. And nowhere, I believe, in the Muslim world, in the Islamic tradition, is there more Turath than here in Morocco. It's one of the most, if not the most remarkable in terms of its intellectual, cultural contributions. So I'm deeply honored. My love has always been heritage, tradition, and I'm a lover of the sacred. I'm honored to be here performing music that celebrates 1,000 years of tradition and heritage from Andalusia to China.
Assalamu alaikum, brother Sami. Actually, I'm over here, brother. I'm from the National in the United Arab Emirates. Lovely to speak to you. Had the pleasure of seeing you in Dubai at the Opera House, which was made to a wonderful concert.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful night. Just regarding that album, so you released your Live in Dubai Opera not long ago, and before that, before was Baraka. Both of these albums are quite different, but at the same time, it still discusses the, as the Turath. I mean, there's a clear link, looking at Andalusia and some Indian continent. Do you feel those two albums are kind of companion pieces, Baraka and Live at the Dubai Opera? And my final question, just when you've spoken before about how your shows are very sophisticated, just in general terms, do you think this is what's the challenges that's facing so-called, spiritual music from Muslims in terms of that sophistication, that the professionalism is not there yet?
Thank you for plugging my album, by the way. It's very kind of you. The gentleman is referring to an album that I released in 2016 called Baraka. And it's a celebration of, it took over a year actually to research. I had many professors, scholars, musicians, philosophers who contributed to the research of that album. And it really is it goes back to Rabi al-Adawiyya and also Mu'inuddin Chishti of India and everything in between. And you're talking about, you alluded to the album, the Dubai Opera album. Yes, I think you're right. These two albums are complementary. I suppose Live at the Dubai Opera is a realization of what that kind of music would sound in a live setting, how it would look. Every single instrument on that album, and as well as in the Baraka album, is traditional, including the guitar, which goes back to Andalusia. Every single instrument. If I can contribute through that, through my music and my foundation, the Spiritique Foundation, which is a celebration of tradition and heritage and the sacred, if I can contribute in the continuity of traditional music and traditional sound, then I will be very happy. Because I believe much of the problems, I think, that exist in this world and amongst the youth is, we're losing the sense of who we are. We don't know who we are. That's with technology and the mobile phones and constantly hooked, on WhatsApp and Snapchat and this kind of, the seconds are withering away and we just, we're losing that sense of who we are. And youth, for me, I feel closer to the sacred when I hear a piece of poetry, right? Than seeing for example, an overtly, for example, religious thing, right? Or not objectification, but a kind of, a kind of exhibitionist kind of approach, a religiosity. I find myself in close proximity to the sacred when I hear Ibn Arabi, or I hear a piece of Sufi poetry, or even just simple something we take for granted here in Morocco, a beautiful geometric pattern or a beautiful tile. It brings me closer to who I am. As a in terms of my soul, in terms of my consciousness. Then, for example, seeing something overtly, if you know what I mean. So heritage and tradition, I believe, is the key for myself to preserving, beauty in the deepest sense of the word.
في حوار أحد الجرائد الإلكترونية أنا الحسن عاتج من مجلة سيدتي. في حوار مع أحد الجرائد الإلكترونية المغربية صرح سامي يوسف بأنه مستعد ليدير مع منشد مغربي، فهل لا زال المشروع قائما؟ والسؤال الثاني، في الدورة السابقة لموازين تناقلت وسائل التواصل الاجتماعي خبر نقد أن سامي يوسف يعني رفض المشاركة في موازين، هل هذا الخبر صحيح؟
لا بالعكس هذه شهادة أحداث.
I think you're more interested in the second question than the first. First question was just a cover to get to the second. No, I don't refuse anything. I don't refuse anything. I'm for me, first of all, you know, the first question, I love to participate and collaborate with, you have such talent here, you know, amazing, talented artists, but not a particular singer, you know, but if there's somebody I'd love to, you know, collaborate with. In fact, there is a gentleman who's performing with us tonight, Sidi Ismail Bougia and the Firqa. They're coming here, they're from Meknes, they're coming, he's a remarkable singer, a remarkable madih, actually. A remarkable human being, and he's honored us by coming tonight with his group to perform, which is a surprise. I gave it away. The second question, I since I was a very young boy, I've never believed in us and them. You know, I don't believe we are the Muslims and you are the. I've never thought. I grew up in London. I grew up in Acton, Ealing. You know, I have friends of all races, all religions, all backgrounds. It's a very, very dangerous worldview because there are some people who want to promote that. I never said such a thing. I don't want to pass it. But there are some people who, you know, like موازين, they may have musicians who are not like me. They're different. They sing pop music or different kinds of music. But it would be very, I believe, arrogant, if I can say that, to oppose a platform just because it's not your cup of tea. Well, if that's the case, don't use YouTube. You know, don't use the computer.
Yes.
You know, don't go on the internet because there's tons of nonsense on the internet. Terrible thing. I mean, literally, where do you draw the line? And it's also a very dangerous worldview. We live in one world. We're all together. Choose what you like. If there's something you don't like, you have to leave it. If there's something you like, ahlan wa sahlan. As for myself, if I'm given a platform to promote something traditional music, and heritage, I will definitely take that platform. And once again, I'm very honored with the invite.
اهلا وسهلا طارق في الهدى جريده اكسبريس الالكترونيه. سؤالي الاول، سامي يوسف تميز بنمط متميز في الموسيقى، يعني الجمع ما بينه هو روحي وصوفي وحتى هو ما هو ديني والانماط الحديثه الغربيه، واستطعت ان تحافظ على هذا النمط منذ سنوات الى حدود الان، وبلغت هذه الاغاني والانماط الموسيقيه الى اذان ليس فقط المحافظين ولا المتدينين وحتى الاناس او المجتمعات الغربيه. في الوقت الحالي نجد ان هناك يعني نمط جديد حديث في الموسيقى، نسمع ان موسيقى فيها مجهود بسيط جدا بالمقارنه مع المجهود الذي تبذلونه من ناحيه الالحان والكتابه والى اخره، تحصد ملايين المشاهدات. كيف استطاع سامي يوسف ان يحافظ على هذا النمط وأن يستمر في تحقيق التميز؟ ثم ما موقفك من هذا النمط الجديد للأغاني الشبابية الحالية؟ السؤال الأخير الثاني، العالم العربي والإسلامي باعتباركم عندكم أصول يعني إيرانية وأذربيجانية يعني مسلم، كيف ترون الواقع العربي والإسلامي الآن؟ سمعنا أن لديكم مبادرات إنسانية في سوريا مع اللاجئين السوريين. ما موقف سامي يوسف الإنسان المتتبع للأحوال العربية والإسلامية لما يجري في المشرق العربي من صراعات وتوترات؟ شكرا.
Brother, it's like 10 different questions. Yes. Barakallahu fikum. Brother, when I started in 2003, I'm very shy. I don't like to say ana. I feel very embarrassed. I don't want to talk about myself. It's a very awkward setting. But you forced me to say ana, unfortunately. When I started in 2003, I had a meteoric rise. So I was on all the magazines, you know, astaghfirullah, some kind of pop idol, sex idol, you know, really an icon, and, you know, girls' magazines and all these things. That was never my intention. And I saw that where I was going, I was becoming a pop icon. And some might even say I still am a pop icon. Some might argue that. But that is never what that was never my intention. I'm not a commercial person seeking fame and money and power and to be basically every girl's, you know, that's not who I am, you know, to be some kind of model or something. My love is music. And about 5 years ago, you can say like how Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, he hit a wall, you know, as a musician, in a very small way, I hit a wall. I began to have doubts as to what I'm doing and how people were perceiving me. And I started to study. I started to study philosophy. I started to read books, a lot of books, and I started to go inward. Some kind of an inward journey, a spiritual inward journey. And I realized, I got most of my answers, and I realized this, that there is a very deep inferiority complex in the Muslim world. In the East, actually. It's the entire Middle East and India as well. It's, in some cases, even worse there. A deep, how do you say inferiority? How do you say it? How do you say inferiority complex? I understood that there is this longing to be perceived and liked through the lens of the others. Do you understand? It's like we're never good enough. I'm never good enough until Harry, Jack, and Joseph tell me that I'm good enough. Right? I'm speaking to you now as a Brit. Right? I'm a British citizen. I don't have another passport. So, you know, this sense of inferiority was really hurting. And when you say I don't put effort, it's the exact opposite. In fact, I put much more effort into my work to keep it authentic and to keep it true, because we're suffering from a lack of authenticity and truthfulness and integrity. So, our instruments, when I say our, I mean the Islamic world, it's not an electric guitar, it's not a saxophone. By all means, go ahead, use it, you know, it's fine. But don't call it religious, it's not religious, it's not part of because you asked a direct question about other singers. I'm referring to that, responding to your question. But the honest truth is that until this inferiority goes and disappears, you know, people are never really going to be at peace. You know, we have to be at peace with ourselves. I can't constantly want to be liked. Like me, like me. You know, Western people or French people like me. You know, it's a very sad state to be in. You know, the Islamic civilization is one of the only civilizations that is studying its tradition through the lens of somebody else. Most of the books they teach in the universities are from, you know, from Frenchmen and you know, people who, there's some admiration there, but you know, there's, you know, the skeptics as well. It's from the lens of somebody else's civilization. So, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be 36. Brother, you know, I'm not 18. There are people who are 40 years old, and they're acting like kids, like children. It's embarrassing. That's their way, that's their path. You're not to be judgmental. But I'm 36. I'm trying to make music that is reflective of my ahwal, my state, my thinking, my philosophical, mental, spiritual, psychological state. And if I have to be absolutely honest, the majority of things that come out using religious, branding it in a religious term, right? They're terrible. And the irony is, this is the irony, that my wife, who's German, she's a German lady. We've been married 12 years now, alhamdulillah. She finds authentic Moroccan culture much more exotic and beautiful than some kind of pseudo mixing fusion, a horse's head and the body of a cow and then the tail of an elephant, the trunk of an elephant, the taking from here and there. So authenticity, if those people want to reach the West that you talk about, be authentic, be yourself. And that's what I'm trying to do. And it's not easy, making Araft al-Hawa from Rab al-Adawiyya, using tambour, traditional instruments that are from the Hadara and from the Turath of the Islamic civilization, which also includes Christians, Jews, and others. Islamic civilization is not only Muslims. There are many others who participated and lived side by side. Is much more challenging than taking a beat, with a kick and techno and adding some, religious terminologies which anybody can do in the shed. Anyone can do with a computer. It's like a robot. So my advice to you as a brother, with all my respect, please forgive me, but don't have an inferiority complex. Don't think, just because someone is using tambour, he's not putting effort. It's the exact opposite. Just because it doesn't sound Western, then it can't be good. Because it doesn't sound like what you would, like Rihanna or some pop singer, with all my respect to them, right? Then it can't be good. It's a terrible state to be in. It's so sad. It's so decadent. It's not reflective of this mighty tradition, this mighty culture, mighty heritage. Whilst I respect all the traditions. I have in-laws who are Christians, I have family members who, different backgrounds. But you have to appreciate every tradition for what it is, not for what you want it to be and what others see it for, if it makes any sense.
مساء الخير. فاتحة رشدي بوابة المنارة. الفنان سامي يوسف أول ما تعرف عليك الجمهور عبر أغنية معلم. هذه الأغنية التي أحدثت ضجة كبيرة في عالم الفن، وليس فقط في العالم الإسلامي وإنما في تقريبا الأربع قارات، وحققت نجاحا منقطع النظير. هل كنت تتوقع هذا النجاح لهذه الأغنية؟ سؤال ثاني هو أن قبل سامي يوسف كان هناك فنانون كثر متميزون بالإنشاد الديني أو بالأغنية الملتزمة، لكنهم وبعده كذلك كثر، لكنهم لم يحققوا النجاح الذي حققه سامي يوسف. فما هو السر وراء هذا النجاح، والأهم من ذلك الاستمرارية على النجاح؟ شكرا.
بارك الله فيكم. Yes, very kind of you. Thank you. Al-Mu'allim was an accident, actually. I never expected it to be successful. I was about to leave music and go and study law. I'm so grateful I didn't do that. I would have been a terrible lawyer. But friends of mine came and they said, look, before you leave, I was producing as a kid. I was producing, composing. I was heavily immersed in the world of music. But before I, quote unquote, quit music, friends of mine came and they said, why don't you make an album like Madh, kind of praising the Prophet. And this was post 9/11. And you're right, when it was released, I was incredible. It was just unbelievable. I mean, I definitely did not expect that kind of success, but I never asked for it. What was your name? Your name? Fatiha. Sayyidah Fatiha. I never expected it, and I never wanted it. I never asked for it. I'm a very private person. I'm very family orientated. I'm not someone who looks for scandals or has any scandals. Thank God. I love music. I'm glad Al Muallim was as successful as it was, because it allowed me this opportunity to be here, this honor. But humility, humbleness, respecting your elders, respecting teachers, people who are older than you, people who have spent time, and because of them you're doing what you're doing, whether you know it or not, are some of the keys. I don't know if I have them, but there's some of the keys to maintaining, continuity. Ultimately, fadl min Allah. It's from, you can't control, you can do all the hard work. It's not only about talent, actually. Having a good name, having a good character, being respectful, being polite, not just here, but behind the cameras.
Absolutely.
Being respectful, showing respect to everybody. Because this industry, with all my respect, but being from the music environment, my dad being a great composer, musician, there is a very egotistic dimension to the work. It's all about me, I'm the biggest. Why aren't there enough people here? Why there should be more media? The Jumhur, where's the audience? There is an egotistic dimension to it. It's very dangerous and it's self-destructive. And I've never been interested in this. Being a celebrity is a job in itself. It's hard enough being a musician, actually. Just being a musician and taking your work seriously, it's already quite hard. Show business and being a celebrity is another job. And my advice is just be nice, be good, and those artists try your best. And everyone has a time, actually. Everyone has been allotted a time. Metaphysically and physically. We all die at some point. But everyone has a time, and just always be grateful.
On prend une dernière question. One last question, if there is one.
Yes.
In case.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
It's English. So, as you know, many of your songs were a huge impact, and I personally love your music.
Thank you.
Do you think? How do you think your music can impact generations, and also how can young youth, can use music to promote universal values?
So thank you so much for your great question. Music is a gift, actually, from heaven. It's not a tool. Those who say it's a tool are to be avoided. I can tell you, I've seen what that can bring. It's disastrous. It's a gift, and if people are creative enough and people make music from their hearts and souls, it will always affect people and promote those universal values. Love is one of them. Love is a very powerful emotion. And Ibn Arabi actually talks about this. That love, whatever love, is just a reflection of God's love. It's love of the sacred. We might not know it, but it's actually love of God. We just don't know it. The reason why I love tradition and heritage and promote that through my foundation, the Spiritique Foundation, and my album so far, is because there are timeless values and virtues that can be found in tradition, in heritage. You look at a piece of a carpet, a traditional carpet, rug, or a traditional clothes, the Moroccan dress, the garment. It's so beautiful. It's so timeless and beautiful that a movie like Star Wars would come and just nick everything, all the elements. George Lucas, a lot of what he used is from Sufism, and it's a truth, really, because there's something timeless about and beautiful about the traditional things and heritage. And I think that's probably one of the greatest challenges that we have, because this tradition is slowly evaporating. It's disappearing. You have, like the gentleman on this side, our brother, you have like two schools of thought. Ever since Jamaluddin Afghani, Rashid Rida, and all these people who came about, who are ultra-modernists, who just want to taqlid, of the Western, and we're not good enough, we'll never be good enough, so let's just copy. Let's just copy. It's the only way, taqlid. And this is a defeated mindset. It's a defeated, a very sad mindset. And it does not reflect tradition. Tradition and traditional ways and traditional Islam, traditional religion, all religions, Islam is no exception, is one that's permeated by love, by compassion, by unbelievable beauty. In every regard, music is no exception. Some of the most powerful music one can hear are the hadras and the mawashahat and the music of any zawiyah you go to. It's mind-blowing, actually. Just sit there and listen, and you elevate it to another world. Really. We talk about complicated arrangements. Just walk in there, see if you can replicate that. See if you can replicate that. And I challenge anybody to, because that is coming from a higher source. That's from traditions rooted in somewhere very deep, and ultimately the source is the sacred. That's very difficult to replicate. I challenge any of those people, that those musicians, to replicate that. That which you find in any zawiyah here, any place you go to, just walk in and listen to them performing, singing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. It takes you to another universe, another dimension. So that's what I think, what I try to do, through my music, to promote the traditions, the timeless values and the heritage. That's my vocation, inshallah.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
That's right.